Hello and welcome to Silverstone for highlights from round 4 of the 2023 Formula SimRacing World Championship, the British Grand Prix. My name is Edward Hunter and here's all of the driver changes going into the race. Michi Hoyer was unable to attend due to being at the Rome Prix. Instead, pro driver Cameron Roger finds himself pressed into service at Burst Simplicity. It's all change at Netrx GP as the Italian squad fields just a single car for returning Polish driver Jan Woźnica. And finally, Visceral eSports have subbed in pro driver Paul Auguslane in place of the absent Darius Andre. Janos Braksok took his first pole position of the season for Brabham Arnage and led away reigning champion Colin Spork from the front row. Behind, there was a battle for 6th as Jake Dennehan went free ride with Darren Rockcheck and Alex Siebel and was able to clear the pair around the outside into Village. Meanwhile, Jerne Simoncic got his elbows out in his battle with Superventuri's Jan Grankvist. Rockcheck and Siebel continued to go side by side as Dennehan now challenged Jannik Bock for 5th through Brooklands and then Luffield. But the double GPVWC Super League champion held his ground and held onto the position. Meanwhile behind, Martin Maguli found his Visceral car tagged around. Liam Duval in the 4-wide sandwich was left with nowhere to go, and subsequent contact with Giordano Valeriano and Roger took him out of the running. By lap 4, Dennehan was starting to struggle as Siebel breezed past him down the Wellington Straight using the DRS. The following lap, it was Rockcheck's turn to demote the Irishman, putting Dennehan firmly into the sights of points-leading teammate Jerne Simoncic. Further down the pack, Roger made an ambitious move around the outside of Jukka-Pekka Laulu's Superventuri through Luffield and then stuck it out on the exterior to complete the move into Copse Corner, getting his Burst Simplicity into 22nd place. By lap 11, Dennis Jordan had cleared Zolt Zux to climb onto the podium. The ground effect driver was clearly struggling with tyre wear as 2 laps later Bock demoted the Hungarian to 5th. Simoncic began challenging Dennehan for 8th as Braksok pit on lap 14, meaning Spork inherited the lead with Jordan's Ferrari bearing down on him. Braksok emerged down in 19th, committing himself to a free-stop strategy. Dennehan got defensive once more into Brooklands to hold Simoncic at bay, as up ahead Siebel dispatched Zux into Stowe. Mark Schluter got a poor run into Vale, giving an opportunity to Jan Grankvist, who was unable to complete the move on the TX3 driver. Zux then pitted for a fresh set of tyres on lap 15, whilst Braksok was on the move, breezing past Demian Skovron for 11th. The leaders pit on lap 18, with Jordan snatching the lead from Spork at Copse. A slow pit stop allowed Bock to close in. Dennehan now had to claw his way past those on older tyres. His teammate Van Vukas provided no resistance, with Stavros Musadis being similarly easy prey down the Hangar Straight. Simoncic was the last of the lead group to pit, handing the lead back to Braksok. The Slovenian would come out 15th and with a lot of work to do. Grankvist went for an audacious overtake on Woźnica for 11th, with the Netrx driver switching to the mediums. Zux was passed by Siebel once more as he fell into the clutches of Rockcheck. The Polish driver wasted little time and by lap 23 he overcame the ground effect using the DRS. Next up was Tom Latiu, who deployed his battery out of Luffield to snatch 8 from Zux into Copse. Schluter was another driver who had pit early, making him a sitting duck for Siebel into Brooklands. Woźnica had repassed Grankvist and then used DRS down the Wellington Straight to usurp Zux. Not to be outdone, Grankvist stayed in the slipstream and attempted to go round the outside into Brooklands. It looked to be move done until Zux misjudged the closing speed and tagged the Superventuri around, costing him 4 places. Braksok made his second stop on lap 28. Latiu, meanwhile, had been caught by Dennehan, with the Irishman making another bold pass into Brooklands. It was disaster for his countryman Adam Maguire though, who crashed out at Copse Corner. This in turn released Simoncic, who was now free to attack Petr Briliak for 8th. The 2015 champion was able to hold the inside line through Brooklands and then Luffield, but the triple champion had the fresher tyres and set himself up for the inside at Copse. The burst in the Alpine made contact as Briliak again refused to back down. Simoncic then simply used the DRS to make his escape down the Hangar Straight. Braksok had now caught back up to the top 10 and scythed his way past Grankvist, before then doing the same to Briliak down the Hangar Straight to haul his way up to 9th. The Arnaud Brabham then had a front row seat to watch Simoncic go all the way around the outside of Latiou through Village and the loop. Then it was Braxock's turn to pass the Frenchman, the race clutch driver powerless to stop him from sweeping his way through on the outside. Title rivals Denahan and Simoncic then began to duel again on lap 37, with the NX27 driver placing his car perfectly to hold up the Slovenian through Brooklands and Luffield. Simoncic showed his nose through Village on the following lap, and Denahan found himself sliding on the brakes through the loop as the trio converged together. The Irishman was desperate to break the tow and continued to back Simoncic inexorably into Braxock. The leaders pit at the end of lap 38, by which point Simoncic had had enough and the burst driver pit to undercut both of his rivals. Up front, Jordan and Spork were now split by the yet-to-stop Schluter. The Alpine got a great run through Aintree and quickly overcame the German in a bid to challenge Jordan in the final 12 laps. Zux continued to plummet down the order as Grankvist dispatched him from 12th place, and the game was well and truly up for Braxock, who was passed by Jordan with 10 laps to go, and having to admit defeat, finally pitted for mediums. TX3 used team orders as Schluter moved aside to help teammate Bock protect what was now a podium position. Mrokchek had jumped Siebel in the pits and made light work of Schluter by going around the outside through Luffield. The German put up little resistance to countryman Siebel either, with the black and green car heading to the pits for its final stop. Once on fresh tyres, Schluter quickly caught Skovron and relieved him of 12th place. On lap 50, Woznitzer was all over the back of the Alpine of Brulyak, who was having a hard time defending against much fresher tyres. But up front, it was plain sailing for Jordan, who took victory in another fantastic day for Ferrari and team strategist Antoni Nickpon. The battle for 10th wasn't over though, as Schluter made a last-ditch attempt to go around the outside of Grankvist through Vale and Club, which the Super Venturi could do agonisingly little to prevent. Mika Hakimi left his move even later though, compounding a tough day for Zux by stealing 16th position away with an incisive pass around the outside into Vale, much to the delight of Hakimi's legion of Malaysian fans. A second win in a row then for Jordan as Spork returns to the podium for the first time since Interlagos last year. Bock took a well-earned first podium in FSR, holding off Mrokchek and Siebel. Simoncic could only recover to 6th ahead of Denahan as Braxock was left to rue his extra stop. Schluter's last gasp move gets him his best finish in 9th as Grankvist rounds out the top 10. Latiou had another tidy run to 11th, beating Skovron and the returning Woznitzer. Brulyak took his worst finish of the season in 14th, with the points being rounded out by Matthew Williams, Hakimi, Zux, Lalu, Panzar and Van Vukas. Musadis, Roger and August Lane all missed out on points, but it was a miserable race for RHG, with Maguire and Duval both crashing out, along with Sander Callis, Cosmo Prosciutto, Maguli and Valeriano. Simoncic's lead in the standings has now been cut to just 7 points as Jordan has well and truly taken the fight to him. Denahan drops to 3rd, 10 points ahead of Mrokchek. Maguire and Duval fall to 5th and 6th, just ahead of Siebel, Spork, Brulyak and Bock. Burst still lead the teams table, but it's now Ferrari that are 16 points behind them as RHG are demoted to 3rd, just 6 points ahead of Alpine. Meanwhile, Arnaud Brabham have leapfrogged up to 7th, just a point ahead of Super Venturi. Jordan's double win is an ominous sign for Simoncic as we approach the midpoint of the season. Can Burst strike back, or will the prancing horse press home its advantage? We'll find out in front of their adoring tifosi at Imola on the 6th of August. But from me, Edward Hunter, and from a sunny field in Northamptonshire, it's goodbye.